Welcome to the Real Estate Power Play Podcast, your launch pad for skyrocketing success in real estate investing. I'm your host, Gabe Rodarte, alongside Mark Monroe. We're ready to bring you transformative stories, groundbreaking strategies, and the insider secrets of real estate giants. Get ready to accelerate your investment journey and become a true power player in the world of real estate.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Real Estate Power Play. I'm your host this week, Mark Monroe, and I'm excited to have Michael. Michael, I've known, God, I don't know. How long have we known each other now?
God, 14 years maybe.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it is
Yeah,
about 14 years. We started,
yeah,
we did some business together back when I had a lead gen company at one time,
yes,
and we've actually partnered up in a little bit about that. Mike, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and name your company, and go ahead.
sure. Yeah, no problem. And Mark, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And again, I always loved our friendship over the years, man. It's hard to do that in this business, you know? So when you keep those friendships for a long time in this business, that means you're surrounding yourself with the right people. So I appreciate that, man. My name is Michael Mourgides. I'm the co-owner of a company called Concussion Media, LLC. We have been around for we've been around 15, 16 years now. And I've been in the lead gen space. Like Mark said, we actually worked together on a couple of projects back in the day. And so we work in a lot of different verticals. Obviously, we work in internet marketing, and our marketing is national. So we do international. We work with we like to do a high volume in terms of leads and try to find those evergreen products that are always going to be there, and kind of not the flash in the pan kind of verticals, I should say. So we work a lot into, and I like to work in verticals where it's I like to call them recession proof. If your business does really well when it's a good economy, but does even better at a bad economy, that's a really good way to set up your business, right? Things we could talk about. But we work big in the legal space, financial space, the insurance space, and lots and lots in auto space, in between insurance and auto finance. But yeah, it's a little bit about us, all the different verticals we work in.
That's awesome. I appreciate it. So, Michael, we talked a little bit. I know, we talked briefly because, this is the real estate and there's a lot of real estate people, but, you
Yeah,
were
of
doing some lead
course.
generations for mortgage leads for a while, but you kind of paused it, you're saying, because of rates, but now you're starting to look into it a little bit more.
Oh
And what
yeah.
you're saying something about the insurance. What happened there?
Yeah, no problem. So it's weird. Like there was this like explosion of fraud throughout multiple verticals about 2.5 years ago. So what ended up happening is, you know, these people in a different country were form stuffing people's form fills in their websites with real data, with real people, with real IP addresses. They were able to get through all of the verification software out there that pings the data to make sure it's real. And I'm talking millions and millions of dollars of fraud. And if you know, Mark, you know better than anyone, when somebody gets a lead, let's say at Loan Depot, which we were selling leads to, or Geico or State Farm, they're not really looking at the data like a week at a time or a day at a time. They're looking at it like a month at a time. So imagine the amount of volume that came in before they even caught it. You know what I mean? So what ended up happening, and it ended up happening was that there was just kind of unwinding this whole mess, but it kind of went across a couple verticals. Luckily, we weren't hit that bad. We were actually able to turn it off. We had some systems in place to stop that. But a lot of people got hurt. And the insurance
Wow.
space stopped buying leads from third party vendors like that. And then also it trickled into the mass tort space. And mass tort, as you know, markets, it's lots of different things like Roundup and things like that.
Mhm.
And the same exact thing happened there, but more with like retainers not being real retainers or not real people. So that was millions and millions and millions of dollars. So a lot has happened since then in terms of how do you protect yourself from that? How do we protect our clients from that? And we've kind of pivoted where we have like 6 people on our media buying team, so we can control the media buys and things like that. But um, to your point about refi starting it back up, when rates started skyrocketing, obviously, people were not really in a position to refinance their home, when that happens, you kind of like, and if well, like our clients like Loan Depot and all these big companies were laying off a lot of people in their call centers. So that's kind of like the temperature. They really didn't want to move forward with marketing. They really wanted to kind of bring it down, their expenses down. But now they're ramping back up. I just let you know a little inside information is that they're starting to staff back up considerably. So that means that the appetite is starting to come back. Obviously, they're just getting ready. So the rates when they drop to a certain point, when it makes it a good idea for people to refinance, then we'll be ready to go there. So yes, that's
Yeah,
kind
I
of where
think
we're
we're
at.
going to see. I agree with you. I think we're going to see rates come down pretty quickly here, probably in the next 3 to 6 months. I
That
think
would
by
be
the end of the year, I think
huge.
by the end of the year, I think we're probably, the way how the economy's shifting. Yeah, we're going through with the new administration. We're going through some hiccups and trying to work through the new process of the new economy, if you will. But I think that's going to be part of it. Look at our inflation numbers yesterday. Everybody was worried about, oh, inflation numbers going to be out of whack, so the rate's going to have to keep high. But inflation numbers were right in line. So
Yeah.
I didn't even look at the mortgage rates today. I didn't see what they were doing.
Yeah, the one thing that I know did happen is that they didn't lower the rates in the last run, but hopefully with these numbers that are coming out, that'll change things. Obviously, you know what I mean. So, I didn't look at the mortgage rates today, but I do know that hopefully with these numbers that you're discussing, that'll make a completely different shift in things, like we're hoping, and when that happens, though, it's really going to be you got to be positioning yourself. And Mark, remember we talked about this a long time ago. Is like it's almost like you got to be a quarterback and throw the football of where the guy's going to be, not where he's at. Right. And that's how OGs like us in the business for a long time is like, you have to look at what's coming down the line, not what's the hot thing right now. Right. What's everybody doing now?
And that's a good point. And that's why I really wanted to get you on here because we've seen a lot of lead gen companies come and go through the years, and only a very few tend to stick around and your mindset. And that's why I want to talk a little bit about like the business. And that's a prime example. Like businesses, I mean, they always look and forecast years in advance versus a
Yeah.
lot of people are just focusing on now. And that's what they're just trying to go after the hot thing, and that's it. And so they didn't focus. So that's good that you guys are anticipating that. What are your thoughts on that?
And that's what you have to do. For example, it's like that's when, as media buyers, as marketers, if you think about it, if everyone is over here eating in this pile, the cost to get that marketing for our clients and for ourselves is going up because there's so much competition. So if you're kind of projecting and seeing where the trends are going, and you kind of get there first, and you build like a machine, and you built the client list, and you built that rapport, and you build that trust, then all those people that are just bottom feeders will just try to get into that space, but they won't be able to get to the level that you're at, right? So that being said, like we did that with motor vehicle accidents, for example. We saw the downhill of mass tort was going down. So then we said, okay, we're gonna focus on motor vehicle accidents, single event. No one was doing it, so we were able to build a pretty big monster in that vertical. So again, the good thing too is to have in your arsenal, Mark, if I could say, I've been in the business a long time where we're not doing refi now, but look how quickly I can start it back up because it's in my arsenal. When shifts change, I'll be ready to go. Let's say then mass torts coming back again, and people are asking us for those leads. I already have all those sites built and everything's ready to go. So you kind of shift with where the opportunities are going. But if you have all those things already built out in those relationships, those phone calls will start coming in saying, Michael, can we get some more marketing or get back into it with us?
So let's talk a little bit about relationships because in any
Oh,
business, relationships are key. I mean, networking, and that's what we always talk about in real estate. People always come in and starting out like, hey, where do I start? Or they're already in real estate and they want to take it to another level. And it's all about networking and relationships. So why don't you talk a little bit about like, how you guys started and how you got these
yeah.
relationships? I mean, that's how we evolved through a
Yeah.
relationship in a sense. And then
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Like, that's a good question because again, in real estate and anything, people getting into the market space, it's networking is everything in terms of it's not what you know, is who you know, right? But you also have to be, you got to be genuine, and you have to really, I don't know, you got to offer something different in a way. Should it, because especially when it comes to real estate and it comes like to lead gen, I have to say there might be some similarities. Meaning this, you know, we're over 14 years. We've gone off the stigma of just a regular lead gen company, right? As you know, Mark, you probably got that all the time too. You're a lead gen company. Oh, you're just going to send me bad leads and ask me to pay for them, right? So over the years, yes, that's probably what happened in the beginning. But as you build that trust and those relationships and network, and you get to the conferences that we would go to, it's showing FaceTime and seeing the same people every time. All of a sudden, you're a face they know, And then with that, human beings start trusting that face they see all the time. So like with real estate or investors and stuff, if there's like a local conference, even though it might not be, just a little touch on real estate, might be good to go there. You never know who you're going to run into. Mark, you'll go and meet 100 people. As long as you bring one good relationship out of that, it'll pay dividends throughout the years.
100%. It's all about building that. Now, so what makes you guys shift? Because a lot of times when people start out in business, they're trying to juggle, you kind of get to a plateau and then you struggle to get to that next level, or you run into issues, or you hire somebody that's bad and kind of, chokes the company a little bit. Why don't you talk a little bit about that with your past experiences where you're growing and you kind of had to take a step back to kind of go forward at times in business?
That is another great question, Works. It's lessons that have been really learned, and I'd have to answer the question is that saying no has made me more money than saying yes. So, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. So when you're like really starting off, or when you're like doing things, you're saying yes to everything, right? You're just saying yes to everything, but you only have a certain amount of resources. So if you have a team like I do, and you're making them go through all these, use the resources and spread themselves thin, and not really bring anything to the finish line, or you're not really sure what's going to work or not work, it really just ends up costing you money at the end, right? So one of the things like what we do is, let's say, like last year we said our initiative is going to be, we want to build home services and motor vehicle accidents. Like that's what we're going to focus on. No matter what people come at us with, we're just going to focus on that. And we did. In that quarter, we exploded both of those verticals. Then we go to the next quarter and say, okay, this quarter we're going to work on this. And of course, those things might shift and change depending. But when you're focused your team and your resources in a common goal, you get to the finish line so much quicker than if you spread everybody thin. So that's something that we've learned in terms of saying no is one of the biggest things. Also, adding people on, and by the way, Mark, the same people you've met years ago are the same people that are still on the team. One of the biggest things that I think add to our success is culture. Also, I have never said you guys work for me to anybody on my team. I say I work with you because I put the tool belt on every single day, just like they do. So we're kind of like in a place where we call ourselves like Voltron, right? So everybody is great at what they do, and then we come together to make the bigger piece. And because of that, we have common goals, and because of that, we can brainstorm and solve problems and stay ahead of the curve. And so that really helps a
Now,
lot.
so how do you guys, like, when you talk culture, okay, let's dive into that a little bit. Like, how do you create the culture? What do you do? And does it just happen organically, or do you guys hold meetings? Like, how do you guys communicate so everybody's on the same page and everybody's together and you don't have that one bad apple that creates the cancer in the environment?
And that's a great question. So I think it starts with the leaders, right? So it starts with the people at the head of the. So it's Adam and I, and we started just the two of us, if you remember, and kind of organically started bringing people on board, just organically, like, and kind of built it from there. But um, to be honest with you, if we bring somebody on, which is really rare, it's just depending on organically if we need it. If we try to force to bring somebody onto the team, to be honest with you, when we try to think that, oh, we need this for the company, they'll be spit out the other end of it because they don't really fit into the culture of what we built. So what kind of culture do we build? So it's basically an all hands on deck kind of approach, right? There's no just like in all the problem solving, everybody is part of that problem solving, right? Let's say if Facebook decides to do something crazy, which they like to do, we get together, we think it through, we problem solve together. Everybody has input, and throughout the years, somebody's really said two words and it completely fixed the problem. So it's a cohesive kind of environment, right? Everybody's involved, and everyone has the mentality that we're all in it together, not in it for ourselves, and that helps a lot to build a really good culture. Also, pretty like laid back, you know what I mean? Like meaning that there's no corporate structure. There's really it doesn't. No one feels like quotas and all that kind of stuff, And because of that, I think our success is because everyone is lifting the ship. It's not just one person trying to make a quota, another, all that stuff. It's just everyone collectively trying to grow it. And I think that's the culture that we built for success.
That's really good. Especially, I've been in that environment where they kind of like, hey, here's your projections, here's your goals, and sometimes they're unrealistic, and if you don't hit them, everybody in the culture feels like a loser type of situation.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah. And also, do you notice like in those corporate cultures or those kind of cultures, they're asking you to do something, but they're never giving you the tools to be successful. You know what I mean? They're setting up unattainable goals by just maybe a half an inch, but they're also not giving you the tools. They're like, fend for yourself and good luck. Or we have the different mentality, Mark. It's like, what tools do you need? Adam and I, we have spent, I don't even know, God, a lot of money on trying all software. We're research and development every year, trying to figure something out. Is this going to work? No, it's not going to work. So, and that's really, the way I think that really helps is giving everybody the tools in order to be successful. And that's what kind of what you do, Mark, with with what these questions and things you're asking, and what you present to your the people that watch and listen and are part of your downline in terms of all your social media is you're giving them nuggets, man. That it's like that is way more important than I don't even know. Like, it's not really going to school with this kind of stuff. You go to, you know what I mean? You go to, you death by fire or like success by fire or whatever, however you
I
say it.
mean,
But,
that's how you learn, is through people that have already been through that experience already.
uh,
Learn from our failures of, in a sense. We learn. I don't call them failures, but I call them learning
no.
experience.
Oh, 100%. That's the thing as an entrepreneur. That's the one thing that I think that is different than most people, Mark, is that whole thing of the word failure is if you think it's a failure, imagine how many people fail twice and then they give up. Imagine how many entrepreneurs get to that level and then drop off and go work at somewhere else, right? But it takes like a person to go through all those failures, figure out they learned one from each one, and then to build something else by learning what not to do from these. It's like going to school, you kind of learn what not to do, you learn, and then from there, you build something even better. So it only takes one, that's what I feel like creates like a real successful company is when an entrepreneur makes mistakes and learns from them and doesn't bring it to the next project and then brings like the solution to the next project. But of course, that next project is going to come up with other problems. Well, luckily, when we got to this particular project, we had a group of people that we can come together and solve those problems. So,
And you kind of know what to. You've been there. You kind of know what to do to kind of get through that process much faster. You know,
exactly.
um, one of the other things I think really what makes me stand out with you guys, you and Adam, is in the industry. We all, and it's probably still like that today, but you knew who was going to be a man of their word and stand behind. And if they said, and it's all about character and
Mhm.
credibility. And if you're going to do something, you follow through. And if you screw up, you guys would always fix it and make it right versus just trying to
Exactly.
throw it and put it under the rug. And that's one thing that I really respected with you guys in your firm. And that's kind of one of the things why I've always gravitated towards you and a couple other people in the industry. But a lot
Yeah.
of guys out there are just, trying to make a buck, and that's why they're no longer around. Do you,
Yeah, yeah, what 100%, Mark. And what it comes down to is the way that I put into a sentence is it's not when things are good that you show your true character, is what do you do when things are not good, right? So when things aren't working out, first thing I do is communicate with the client. First thing is I'm the first person to call. I'm the person that's up front. I'm the take accountability or say here's what our remedy is. And I think that's what makes a longevity in a business. And no matter what business you're in, I feel like that works. That mindset works because you know that respect level just goes, hey, these guys, listen, man, even if Michael and Adam, there's a hiccup, we just know they're going to make it work. So we're good. They're going to tell us what's going on. They're going to tell us what the solution is, and they're going to either do make good leads to financially, and then they're going to give us the solution, and they're going to follow. So that's kind of like a good reputation to build. And no matter what business you have, is that there's that trust already. Where if things go, you're ahead of the curve to tell them, hey guys, we sent you 30 leads on Saturday, and you guys are closed. We really apologize for that. We're not expecting you to pay for it. But if you close anything out of that and you want to do a cost per acquisition payment, please let us know. And there's no call on Monday going, oh my God, you guys blew us up on Sunday, Saturday. We have all these leads and we're not even in the office. You don't have to have those conversations. You know what I mean? Those are good if you could your whole life try to stay away from those conversations is a good thing.
Well, well, the key with you guys, and you're always proactive. Like if there's an issue, instead of trying to hide it and throw it on, it's going to come up. So you're always bringing it ahead of time. And it's in any business. If you know you have an issue, you have a client, and you're worried, oh, I don't want to have that conversation. Be proactive, and I know you guys are
Oh,
like that as well.
it's like any kind of exercise, right, Mark? You're absolutely right. It's very intimidating to do that when you first start off. It's really scary because you're kind of every deal is almost you're living off of every deal, right? So if you feel like you don't really want it to be a reality, but if you continually do that, it becomes like a muscle that you work out, so that when you have those conversations, it's more confident instead of coming from a fear-based place, So it comes off confident and it comes off like you know what you're doing and this is going to happen, and you think so absolutely right. I did want to go back to something though about the culture, and I think I want to just one more thing is one thing I loved about you when we worked together in this particular industry, but I love about you in general is that one thing that will destroy any business or culture in your organization, regardless of what it is ego. You know,
Yes.
100%. And if you notice the people that I think you're thinking about in our industry in your head, none of those people have egos. They're just there to do the right thing, right? So, but think about the other 95% of people we know in the industry. What is that all about? Ego.
Yeah. Yes.
Lamborghinis, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I feel that if you're a person, let's go over your ego and also bringing on team members to your organization or whatever you do, and just make sure that they're coachable and don't come in with an ego. Because if that's the one thing that they do come in with, you don't want to bring them onto the team. I just
Yeah.
wanted to touch back on that.
No, that's a great point. And people listening to us, if you kind of, you know, be what I've noticed sometimes, and I think I've actually been there myself, and it was a big, and I'm embarrassed. In my 20s, I started making some serious
Oh,
money, and I'm like, oh shoot, I had a little bit of an ego for a little while, but then you
course.
get kicked in the nuts a little bit, and then you become humble. We all kind of
Oh
go
yeah.
through that process.
Yeah.
So and learn from that. Like a lot of times, I mean, how many people do we know in our 20s start making some serious money and like they think they're God's gift, you know what I mean? And it's just
Yeah.
part of the process. We all been there, you know?
Oh yeah, 100%. And you just think that money's going to come forever, and you don't know what the difference is between a certain amount of money and how long it really lasts, right? So you're just like, oh, I made $1 million, but if you're not going to make any more money for the next 4 years, that's not a lot of money, So you got to grow up with that too. And yeah, I completely, but that's the one thing that's different, right? You learn from that. It just seems like a lot of people in certain industries don't learn from that, and they go for that like the lowest hanging fruit and put all their money, no matter if it's fraud or not, towards that, make a quick buck, and then they move on to the other thing, and then you just move around there where the sustainability isn't there, like, again, man, just think we have to go through that thing in our 20s. As long as it's not in our 40s and in our 50s or 30s, then I think we're moving in the right direction in life.
Yeah. And just, and you're this type of person, you and Adam, just, in business to be successful. And when you're talking to clients and even your colleagues, be genuine, be yourself, don't be phony. Don't try to act like if you know something you don't know. If you don't know it, just admit it to somebody and do research
Yeah.
or reach out to somebody. That's like some of the big things. So we're really trying to educate people here of learning of what we've been through in our journey and
Yeah.
what makes people successful in business versus people that struggle in business. We all struggle, but a lot
Yes.
of it has to do with your character and how you handle things.
Yeah, and Mark, you hit the deal on the head, man. Like, it's setting the expectations up correctly, right? So if you set the expectations up correctly, even in the initial conversation, let's say somebody's saying, oh, Mark, I need and the number signs go off in your head, dollar signs is like, I need 1,000 leads a day for this particular vertical, and you're like, oh, that's like so much money. Can you do that? Yeah, 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 I could do it. You know what I mean? You got to step back, and if you say to the person, go, listen, I'd love to do that. That would be phenomenal, but it's not going to happen overnight. I'd have to build to that. We have to walk before we run, and then before we sprint. So if you'd like to, I'd love to work with you to try to work those things out so we can get there. So if you set those expectations correctly, like you said in the beginning, don't be phony. Even say there's no way I can do that, but I do have somebody that can. Let me make an introduction. That's fine. You know what I mean? It's just being setting the expectations up correctly, and that you'll get so much respect for that. Because let's say that that's not the deal that works for you with them, they'll think about you in the future and go, "Hey, by the way, I know this didn't work out, but Michael, can you do auto finance leads? Oh yeah, we're doing like a thousand a day. Oh my God, let's work together on that, right?" And that's networking. That's what you're trying to teach everybody in your downline. Yeah.
It's true. It is all about networking, and that's how you
Mm.
kind of live, like, and just kind of grow from it. It's just who you surround yourself. And there's I like to like go to networking events where I hate to say it, I want to be the dumbest person in the room. I
Yes.
want,
100%.
you
Coachable.
know,
You got to be coachable. Dude, I want to learn every day. I learn something new every day from the team. We all learn something from each other. I want to be the dumbest person in the room, and that's kind of like where you said something great there too, Mark, like, so who you're surrounding yourself with. Are you surrounding yourself with people that make you feel like you're up here? Or are you surrounding yourself with people that are pushing you to get a little higher, to learn a little bit more, and as your journey goes as a business owner, hopefully the caliber of people that you start bringing in see people and not just like the people that work for them. Then you're talking, having real conversations. You're having owner to owner conversations, not owner to their employees conversations. So the whole goal in networking is to get you and the owner of that company to have those conversations. Nobody else, because they're the decision maker. That's who you want to be in front of, and networking wise.
and you're going to learn from each other. That's the key.
Oh yeah.
You just, I mean, that's why, there's masterminds that, a lot of us belong to, and we all go and we kind of like, I was in a couple masterminds where I was in one for a few years. It was $18,000 each to be a part of, and there was only 20
Wow.
of us in it. There was only 20 of us, but we all were at a high level. So
Yeah.
we all kind of brought stuff and we did deals together and we kind of help it. So think of it like a country club type of thing. So you're
Yeah.
surrounding yourself with, and you just learn. I mean, in that case, I had 20 mentors. It was well worth
Yes.
$18,000 a year.
Oh my
You know what I
gosh,
mean?
you make way more money there. Think about it too. You're going from, say, here to here quicker than if you went slowly and you were to going. It's way worth the money. It's an investment in you and catapulting your business a lot quicker than you would if you had to talk the ladder to get to those people, right? So 100%. I mean, that is nothing of an
Well, it
investment
goes
for what
back to
you can
it
do.
goes back to the tools that you said.
Yeah.
You're trying to be successful if you don't give your team the tools. It's the exact same thing. You need tools to be able to go there.
Yeah, but going to that mastermind, you're getting the tools to also pass those tools down, right? Even if it's just like mindset, even if it's different tools that you can teach that way, but other than physical tools, those tools are extremely important too. Motivation and being a motivator for your team is extremely important as well. And not only being a self motivator, right? So if you're constantly learning and you're constantly the dumbest person in the room and keep evolving, that's going to trickle down to anyone else that works with you. You know what I mean? It's and that's what you want to surround yourself with too. Like, and I'll go back to my team, Voltron. Like, everybody's constantly educating themselves on what's going on in our world. Like, yeah, obviously AI is huge, right? So we have, like, my guys are just dove into that deep end, and they're creating things with like call routing and all this kinds of stuff that is like revolutionary. So they're always learning, and they're hungry to learn, and we're hungry to learn. So it's really a wonderful kind of like a think tank, in a way. So
I,
that's good
I
to
like
be
it.
who you surround yourself with. Again, it all goes back to that, right, Mark?
It does. Now, what about like your past experience? You want to go to a new convention, right? A new
Yeah.
conference or whatever, and it's going to cost you quite a bit to go to this event. And we all been there, like, do I really want to spend that much money? And then you end up going, and then what do you get out of it? What are your thoughts on something like that?
That's a great question too. Something I learned about 3 years ago. We brought in. We actually brought in somebody to. Sometimes you shoot too close to the forest to see the trees in your own business. So sometimes it's good. We actually brought in a consultant who they came in for about a year or so, and they kind of extracted and kind of helped us really reorganize our mindset and stuff. This is one of the things that we learned. So one of the things that we learned was, why are we going to the conference if we don't have any appointments set up? Right. So what you do is, like, what we do is, like, in terms of gauging if we're going to go or not. And by the way, Mark, we've also, what we learned was, we're not really doing the affiliate summits, and we're doing the lead gen. We're going to individual conferences for that particular vertical. So, for example, I just went to a vertical with all attorneys because they're my clients for for motor vehicle accidents. So we'll use that as an example. So my mind changed to go specifically to those conferences and really meet. That's where you meet the people that are going to buy the leads. But I ahead of time we emails, we do all these different. My assistant sends out things so we can schedule some time. So you're being when you get there, you feel like you already have an agenda and you're ready to go. So it makes it worth it already. Like by making that investment. But if you're going blind without any relationship, you don't know what you're going to do other than walk around, hit the bar, and hopefully run into somebody, that might not be the best approach. So that's my approach.
That's a good nugget. That's a really good nugget. I mean, how many people have gone to events, and that's a good one. I mean, I've been there myself. So,
Yeah.
so what do? You look up the agenda, who's going, you reach out to them and set up, like walk it through so somebody that's listening has a good
Yeah,
idea.
that's a great idea. Yeah, not a problem at all. Well, there's a couple tools that I'll kind of tell you about. So we have something where it's called Wizza. So what you're able to do, let's say I'm going to go to I don't know. We'll go to a lawyer conference. Okay. So what I have my assistant do, it's pretty cool. You can go on LinkedIn. You got to get the premier type of LinkedIn. This is a really good nugget I'm going to give you actually right now. And there's a widget called Wizza. So what ends up happening is that she'll go in there, she'll look up law firms, and she will be able to make a lead list of law firms that have more than 6 states of coverage, all the filters and criteria that I want, right? And then what I end up doing is that she ends up using Wizza, that app, and it extracts and scrapes all the data that we're able to get, their phone number, email address, all that stuff. And then what ends up happening, she makes a lead list with email address and everybody like that, the law firm, the marketing department, or whatever. And then we do an email drip campaign out of MailChimp saying, we're going to be at this show. Who would like to join us at the show? We'd love to buy you a cocktail or whatever like that. So what ends up happening is we start getting people we've never worked with before. They're like, yeah, we'd love to meet you. Obviously, in the email, it says, who are we? What do we do? What have we done in the past? If you're looking for motor vehicle accident marketing, if for your intake center, this is what we do. We work with big firms. So then that right there will start warming up people that we've never even met before that are going to be at that show. So, and you can do that for anything, for any single vertical that we go to. So the step one is to scrape LinkedIn for making a lead list of that particular group that you want to be in front of. Step two is taking that lead list and building it out in MailChimp and doing email drip campaigns, and then you'll start building up that buyer base. So that's a good way to do it.
Great nugget. So
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
yeah.
That's a good one. So it probably creates a lot of value, and you're getting right there, and you're probably making deals and sales much faster.
100% because they're already warmed up, right? They don't, they already kind of know they're looking forward to talking to you because they already said, "Wow, this guy I need leads in South Carolina. He's doing South Carolina. Let me talk to him." Because all of a sudden their wants might match up. Because think about that, they're human beings, right? They want to go there and be productive so they can show their bosses. So if they're getting an email from me with having something interesting for them, they're going to be like, "Oh, I already have an appointment set up with Michael from Concussion Media." So it looks like they're not going to go there and just kind of wing it. So you're kind of, you know what I'm saying? So everyone has got, you're helping them make appointments in a way.
That's very well money spent on being a consultant, kind of right there.
Oh
You
my
know,
gosh. And so many different things too, Mark, is going from quarter to quarter, looking back. What did we do well? What could we work on? What do we want to do in the next quarter? And how are we going to accomplish it doing that? So many different things. The consultant really helped a lot because after 14 years, you probably get in some bad habits and stuff. So it's good to kind of figure it out.
Absolutely. I mean, that's how we improve. I mean, so many
Yeah.
people try to take the shortcut, try to like, oh, I'll
Oh,
figure out myself, and because they don't want to spend money on it. But in the
yeah.
long run, they end up spending more money and more time because of the time value that they're trying to figure out where, how much are you making? Are you making $5 an hour? Are you making $50 an hour? Are you making $500 an hour? So you
Yeah.
have to look at your time.
Time is everything. Oh my gosh, time is money, right? And you're absolutely right. It's incredible. It's hard for someone to look into their wallet and see the investment for something that's going to come down the road, right? So they only see the sticker shock of what's in front of them. But getting a program, getting a mentor, going to like my masterminds, getting the nuggets that you're offering these people, that is going to catapult you. It'll fast forward your business by months, by years, because you're not going to make some of the mistakes that could set you back two steps, and then you got to take three steps forward, then you got to take two steps back, and then you got to take one step forward. But that's what if you offer people that are listening and hearing us right now, if you're able to get those nuggets, those are invaluable for what you're investing, because you need to invest in yourself. If you're not investing in yourself, you're not going to get to that dream that you have to be a
It's
yeah.
you hit the nail on the head, because you do take a step back, and when you take a step back, most of the time it's hitting you financially. Like, that's the
Oh,
majority of the time.
yes.
So the amount of money that you're losing financially, you could have learned through and spent that money there and kept going, the momentum going forward.
Yeah, and don't worry. But here's the thing too, though. The momentum going forward, you financially probably will be better off that when you do take a step back, it'll be affordable.
Yes,
You
100%.
know? Yeah, because when you're making these mistakes and you step back, it's not that affordable and you got to scrape again. And, but if you just like, hopefully what we're talking about today is just, I'm telling you, what we're talking about is just an entrepreneur handbook to like, not, don't do what we did. Because it's hard, I mean, that's, I've had multiple companies before this one, and it's, learning it on your own is very difficult. And if I had these nuggets, I honestly feel, don't get me wrong, I'm happy where I'm at, but I think it would have been a different journey, and
We all
for
would have been
sure.
there. I mean, the resources where these people have today with technology, like the podcast and the
Oh
internet,
yeah,
we, yes, the internet was around, but it didn't have the resources,
no,
and people weren't teaching this stuff like they are now, and take advantage of it.
mm,
I kind of wish,
gosh.
when I was 15, 20, 30, 15, 20 years ago, where I could have like jumped on and listened to different people give their advice and learn from that.
Oh my goodness. Like, because it's like a light bulb goes off, right? Like it might not be everybody, but there might be somebody listening to us and just went ding. You know what I mean? And all it takes is that like one idea that could just, you didn't know what you needed, but because everyone has resources like that today, like we didn't, we actually had to physically be in front of somebody to get that light bulb moment, right? It's not, I mean, what people are able to access now, where, they can have a moment and go, oh, that's what I need to do. And that right there is so invaluable. It's not even funny. It's
So,
easier to get to than it was.
so, so I'll last like 5 or 10 minutes. I want to shift it a little bit and
Sure.
talk a little bit about,
Please.
marketing a little bit. And what do you think, where marketing is, where it's been, where we're at, and where it's going? And what, give us a little idea what your thoughts, because you need marketing in business in general.
Oh
So
my God.
even
Yeah.
us. So what's your thoughts on the whole marketing, the way things are and the way we're moving towards?
No problem. That's a really good question. So marketing, especially if it's doing, we'll talk on the media buying things, right? So there's a different type of marketing. Obviously there's local marketing, there's national marketing, there's product marketing, there's service marketing. So I'll talk about because we work in the service space. How do we get somebody in front of somebody, right? So what we're learning on the landscape right now is that for a long time, images worked really well in terms of advertising. But right now, it's really all about content and video content. It's about capturing people. And it doesn't really need to be super witty, but I'll tell you, even if it's just a linear video with something on it, it catches people's attention way more than I would get away from still images. And right now with the resources, like I'll give you just an example, okay? Shutterstock used to cost $400 a month to be a member, and then you can grab videos and you can grab images, right? Well, now because of AI, it's completely destroyed their business. So they're offering for a full year $200. So you could take videos that they've already made. You don't even have to make the videos yourself. But for that membership, you're able to access those videos. So if you want to market yourself, say online and things like that, that's a really good place to do it on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, things like that. So I would really suggest moving towards that. And that's a really cost-effective way to get a library of videos of no matter what you want to do, it's there. That's nothing compared to what it was. Because right now, AI, people who aren't really onto the chat GBT or how it works, it could take a little bit of a learning curve to get it to the point where it looks good, but this is already made. So I would say like marketing is really more towards gearing towards videos and some content in that way. Even if it's an image that moves, it doesn't, it just needs a move. I guess that's it. I definitely would, would look into different ways of touching the person in terms of like, little bit of email newsletter every single month is really good because it has engagement, and also even the newsletter just give you some tips. Like it doesn't really have to be, you build up your email list. Emails are valuable. And every single month you just send, oh, tips of here's the market conditions, here's what's going on, or we're offering this kind of financial for this I don't know, whatever it is, that's always good, because you get in their inbox and um you're coming in a nicer way, you're into their inbox instead of going buy this now, right? Or here's my service. It's like, hey, I always look forward to reading these little tips every single month. And then next thing you know, they're seeing you, just like going to the conference and seeing your face all the time. Next thing you know, you're automatically become a trusted source of information. When you become that trusted source of information, then you can sell them something.
I like it. That's good stuff. So we're about to wrap up, but I want to
Yeah,
go in a different direction for a second. So why don't you tell us a
sure.
little bit about you personally? You've been
Oh,
being stand-up comedian and you did a movie recently too. Tell me a little bit about that. We haven't really talked since you did that,
yeah.
so I'm kind of even
Oh
curious.
wow. Yeah, it's been a while. So, I've always been a creative person. I worked in the film industry in my early 20s in LA. I always loved making people laugh, making people smile. I always loved like a positive escape. 2 hours in a movie theater, Mark, you're not thinking about anything but that film. That's what I loved about movies. It's just like you didn't have to worry about school, you didn't have to worry about anything. It's a true escape. You can't even use your cell phone. You actually have to be present for this film. Like when you're at home watching a movie, you're like, who's in that movie? I've seen him before, right? You're never really just in it. So there's that. And then stand-up comedy, man, it's just a gift to get people to laugh. So the wonderful thing, Mark, is that through my journey as an entrepreneur, through building this business and multiple businesses that we have, it's allowed me to start getting into the things that I truly fulfill me. So number one, I do like a host a comedy night where I do about 5 minutes stand up and introduce other comics. But two, I was able to make a film, and I'm an executive producer on a film that we produced, and it's coming out actually in October. It's like a psychological horror movie, and then I'm going to continue to make movies and move in that direction because of what my entrepreneurship has allowed me to move into different investments and different facets of my personality. So it's been great.
I like it. That's great. So, Michael, thanks so much for coming on. Why don't you
Yeah,
tell people like how they can contact you, if
sure,
somebody wants to reach out and get some more
sure,
information.
sure. Yeah, no problem. Our website is concussionmedia.com. My name is Michael Mourgides. Like I said, my business partner is Adam Bulliard. We are been around for like 14 years. We work in the lead gen side of things. But also if anyone's ever trying to do some local marketing and if they want to reach out, my email is mn@concussionmedia.com. I can introduce them to some local marketers because obviously we don't do local marketing. But I'm always here. I would like to pay it forward, Mark, like you do because people have helped me. So whatever I can do to help others, I'm all for it.
Same way. And we'll also put Michael's contact information below wherever you're watching this on your podcast platform or YouTube or any social media. So, again, thank you guys for listening to Real Estate Power Play. And Michael, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Thank you,
Yeah,
guys.
thank you, Mark. Always a pleasure, buddy. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.